Minho checked his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. The blue numbers glowed in the dim light of the communications room. 2:14 in the afternoon, station time. Yura was late. He walked to the big window that looked out into space. Stars filled the black sky like tiny diamonds. Far away, he could see the mining ships working on the asteroids. Their lights blinked as they cut rocks and pulled out precious metals. This was home now, a small metal station floating in the middle of nowhere. The Kepler 442 system was not a place most people wanted to live. It was cold, dark, and very far from Earth. Only 12 humans lived on the mining station. They were all workers, engineers, and scientists. Minho fixed the communication systems that kept them connected to the rest of the galaxy. Every 2 weeks, a supply ship came to bring them food, tools, and messages from home. The ship belonged to the Viridian Trade Consortium. It was run by aliens who looked like tall blue people with big eyes. Most humans had never seen a Viridian in person. But Minho had been talking to one for 8 months now. Her name was Yura. She was the courier who brought their supplies. At first, Minho had been nervous around her. He had never talked to an alien before coming to this station. But Yura was different from what he expected. She was smart, funny, and very curious about humans. The communication system made a soft beeping sound. Minho quickly sat down at his desk and put on his headset. A message was coming in. Mining Station K442, this is Courier Ship Blue Wind. I am approaching your docking bay. Please prepare for supply delivery. Minho smiled when he heard Yura's voice. She spoke perfect English, but with a musical accent that made every word sound like a song. Blue Wind, this is Station K442. We are ready for you. Docking Bay 2 is open and waiting. Thank you, Station K442. I will be there in 15 minutes. Minho turned off his headset and walked toward the docking bay. Other workers were already there, waiting for the supplies. Dongyun waved at him from across the room. Dongyun worked with the mining equipment and was always excited to get new parts. Is our blue friend coming with good news? Dongyun asked. She should have mail from Earth, Minho said, and maybe some fresh food if we are lucky. The station commander, Somin, walked into the docking bay. She was a serious woman who always worried about safety and rules. She nodded at Minho and checked her datapad. The supply list looks normal this time, Somin said. Medical supplies, food packages, and some new computer parts. Through the thick glass window, they could see a ship coming closer. It was long and silver with blue lights running along its sides. The Viridian ships were beautiful, much more graceful than human ships. They moved through space like fish swimming through water. The ship connected to the docking bay with a soft thud. Air pumps started working to make sure both sides had the same pressure. A green light came on, which meant it was safe to open the doors. Yura stepped through the airlock. She was tall, about 6 feet, with smooth blue skin that seemed to shine in the station lights. Her eyes were large and dark purple like deep space. She wore a simple brown uniform with the Viridian trade symbol on the chest. Hello, everyone, Yura said. She looked around the group but seemed distracted. Usually she smiled and asked about their work. Today she just stared at her datapad. Hi, Yura, Minho said. How was your trip? Fine, she answered quickly. She did not look up from her pad. I have your supplies. The medical equipment you ordered and food for 2 weeks. Minho felt confused. Yura usually talked to him about her travels. She liked to tell him about the different planets she visited and the strange things she saw. Sometimes she asked questions about human music or food. But today, she seemed like she wanted to leave as fast as possible. The workers started moving boxes from her ship to the station. Yura watched them but kept checking something on her datapad. She tapped her foot on the floor and looked nervous. Is everything okay? Minho asked. Yura looked at him for the first time since arriving. Her purple eyes seemed worried, but she tried to smile. Yes, everything is fine, just tired from the long flight. But Minho could tell something was wrong. In 8 months of talking to Yura, he had learned to read her emotions. Viridians were not so different from humans in that way. When they were upset, it showed in their eyes and the way they moved. The supply transfer took 30 minutes. Usually, Yura would stay for an hour and drink tea with Minho in the communications room. They would talk about their jobs, their families, and life in space. Minho looked forward to these conversations more than anything else on the station. Today, Yura signed the delivery papers and started walking back to her ship immediately. Wait, Minho called after her. Do you want some tea? I got new Earth tea in the last supply drop. Yura stopped and turned around. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to say yes, but then she shook her head. Not today. I have to make my next delivery quickly. Thank you for the offer. She disappeared into her ship. The airlock closed with a heavy sound. Minho watched through the window as the blue wind disconnected from the station. The ship's engines glowed bright blue as it moved away, but something was wrong with the way it flew. The ship moved left and right instead of flying straight. Yura was an excellent pilot. Minho had never seen her ship move in such a strange way. He walked back to the communications room and sat down at his desk. The ship was now a small point of light moving toward the next star system. Minho watched it until it disappeared completely. That was weird, Donghyun said, walking into the room. She usually stays longer. Yeah, Minho agreed. Something is bothering her. For the rest of the day, Minho could not stop thinking about Yura. She had seemed scared or sick. Maybe she was having problems with her ship or her job. The Viridian Trade Consortium was very strict with their couriers. If Yura made mistakes, she could lose her position. Minho hoped she would be okay. In this big empty galaxy, friends were hard to find, even alien friends. 3 days passed since Yura's strange visit. Minho kept thinking about her worried face and the way her ship had moved. He tried to focus on his work, but something felt wrong. On Thursday morning, Minho was fixing a broken antenna when the emergency alarm started ringing. The loud sound echoed through the whole station. Red lights flashed on the walls. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked around with fear. Minho ran to the communications room. His job was to handle all emergency signals that came from space. He sat down at his desk and turned on all the equipment. Numbers and letters filled his screen as the computer searched for the source of the alarm. Emergency beacon detected, the computer said in its flat voice. Distance 47,000 kilometers. Source unknown vessel. Minho's heart started beating faster. A ship was in trouble somewhere near their station. He pressed buttons to get more information. The screen showed a map of the local space area. A red dot blinked in the asteroid field between their station and the next star system. Station K442, what is happening? It was Soman's voice on the radio. She was in the command center. Emergency beacon from the asteroid field, Minho answered. A ship is in distress. Can you identify the ship? Minho typed commands into his computer. He asked it to scan the emergency signal for identification codes. Most ships had special numbers that told other people who they belonged to. The answer made his stomach feel cold. It is the Blue Wind, he said into his radio. Yura's ship. Silence came through the radio for several seconds. Then Soman's voice came back, more serious than before. All crew to the command center. Emergency meeting now. Minho left his equipment running and hurried to the command center. The other 11 people on the station were already there. Everyone looked worried. Emergency situations in space were always dangerous. Help was very far away. The Viridian courier ship is in trouble, Soman said. We need to decide what to do. The nearest Viridian rescue ship is 3 weeks away. The emergency beacon means someone could die. Dr. Hine raised her hand. She was the station's medical officer and the smartest person Minho knew. What kind of emergency? She asked. Engine failure? Life support problems? We do not know yet, Minho said. The beacon only tells us that the ship is in distress. I need to get closer to communicate with them. Donghyun stepped forward. He was brave and always wanted to help people. I can take the rescue shuttle, he said. Minho can come with me to handle communications. Soman looked at her datapad. She was always careful about following safety rules. The asteroid field is dangerous, she said. But we cannot leave someone to die. Take the shuttle, but be very careful. 1 hour later, Minho and Donghyun were flying through space in the small rescue shuttle. The asteroid field was full of spinning rocks, some as big as buildings. Donghyun was a good pilot, but flying here required a lot of skill. There, Minho pointed at his screen. Blue Wind is behind that large asteroid. They flew around the rock and saw Yura's ship. It was floating without power. No lights were on. The engines were dark. It looked like a dead fish in the water. Blue Wind, this is rescue shuttle from station K442, Minho said into his radio. Can you hear us? For a moment, there was no answer. Then a weak voice came through the speakers. Station K442. This is Yura. Thank the stars you came. Minho felt relief wash over him. She was alive. What is your situation? He asked. Engine failure 3 days ago. Life support is dying. But that is not the worst problem. What do you mean? Another long pause. When Yura spoke again, her voice was full of shame. I am in Estrus. Do you understand this word? Minho did not understand. He looked at Dong Yun, who shrugged his shoulders. Can you explain? Minho asked. It is a biological condition. For reproduction. It happens to Viridian females sometimes. I need medical treatment or I will die. But the nearest Viridian medical center is 3 weeks away. Minho's mind raced. He knew that different alien species had different biological needs, but he had never heard of this estrus condition. Can we bring you to our station? He asked. Your medical equipment is for humans only. It cannot help me. I am going to die out here. The sadness in her voice broke Minho's heart. Yura had been his friend for 8 months. She was kind, intelligent, and curious about life. He could not let her die alone in space. We are going to help you, he said firmly. Dongyun is connecting our ships now. We will bring you to the station. No, you do not understand. This condition, it makes me dangerous. I cannot think clearly. My emotions are not normal. I might hurt someone. We will figure it out, Minho said. That is what humans do. We solve problems. 20 minutes later, they had connected the 2 ships. Dongyun and Minho put on spacesuits and went into the blue wind. The ship was dark and cold. Minho found Yura in her sleeping area. She looked terrible. Her blue skin was pale and covered with sweat. Her purple eyes were bright with fever. She was shaking like someone who was very cold, but the temperature was normal. You should not have come, she whispered. This is not your responsibility. Yes, it is, Minho said. Friends help friends. Yura stared at him with surprise. In her culture, maybe friendship was different. But Minho had made his decision. They were going to save her. Getting Yura to the rescue shuttle was difficult. She was weak and could barely walk. Her hands were shaking so much that she could not put on her spacesuit properly. Minho and Dongyun had to help her with everything. During the flight back to the station, Yura tried to explain her condition. Estrus affects our brain chemistry, she said. It makes us emotional and confused. Sometimes we become violent. Viridian females always go to medical centers when this happens. I thought I had more time before my next cycle. How long does it last? Minho asked. Usually 7 to 10 days. But without treatment, the fever gets worse. Many females have died from it. Minho held her hand while Donghyun flew the shuttle. Her skin was burning hot. He could feel her heart beating very fast. This was more serious than engine trouble. This was life or death. When they reached the station, someone was waiting in the docking bay with Dr. Hein. Both women looked shocked when they saw Yura's condition. Bring her to the medical bay immediately, Dr. Hein said. As they carried Yura through the station corridors, Minho made a promise to himself. He was going to save his friend. Humans were good at solving impossible problems. They would find a way. The medical bay was the cleanest room on the station. White walls, bright lights, and the smell of antiseptic filled the air. Dr. Hein worked quickly to make Yura comfortable on the examination bed. The alien woman was breathing fast and her skin was getting hotter. Her temperature is 41 degrees Celsius, Dr. Hein said, reading the numbers on her scanner. That is very dangerous for most species. Solman stood near the door with her arms crossed. She did not look happy. This is a serious problem, Solman said. We do not know anything about Viridian biology. What if we make her condition worse? What if she becomes violent and hurts someone? She will not hurt anyone, Minho said. He was sitting next to Yura's bed, holding a cold cloth on her forehead. She is my friend. You have known her for 8 months, Solman replied. But you do not know what this estrus condition really does to her mind. Dr. Hein was looking at her computer screen, reading medical information. I am searching our database for Viridian biology, she said. But we only have basic information. Nothing about this estrus condition. Yura opened her eyes and tried to speak. Her voice was weak and shaky. You should contact the Viridian Consortium, she whispered. Tell them to send a ship for my body. Do not risk your lives for me. Nobody is dying today, Minho said firmly. We will figure this out. Solman pulled Minho aside and spoke quietly. Be realistic. We are just a mining station. We do not have the equipment to treat alien diseases. The best thing we can do is make her comfortable until she... Solman did not finish the sentence. Until she dies. Minho felt anger rising in his chest. That is not good enough. Humans do not give up on people. She is not a person. She is an alien. Minho stared at Somin with shock. He had never heard her say anything like that before. Intelligence makes someone a person, he said. Yura is smarter than most humans I know. She has feelings, dreams, and fears just like us. If we let her die when we could help, what does that say about humanity? Dr. Hine looked up from her computer. I found something, she said. A research paper about viridian reproduction. It says that estrus creates dangerous chemical imbalances in the brain. The treatment requires hormone regulation and neural stabilization. Can we do that with our equipment? Minho asked. Maybe. Our medical synthesizer can create basic hormones, but I would need to know exactly what chemicals to make and in what amounts. One mistake could kill her. Yura tried to sit up on the bed, but she was too weak. Please do not risk it, she said. I do not want to be responsible for human deaths. Over the next hour, more crew members came to the medical bay. Everyone wanted to know what was happening. Some people agreed with Summon that helping Yura was too dangerous. Others thought they should try to save her. Jinwoo, the station engineer, had an idea. What if we contact other Viridian ships? He suggested. Maybe one of them has medical information we can use. Good thinking, Minho said. He went to the communications room and sent radio messages to every ship in the area. Most ships did not answer. The few that did respond had no medical knowledge about Estrus. While Minho was working on communications, Dr. Hine was studying everything she could find about Viridian biology. She also started examining Yura's blood and other biological samples. The hormone levels are completely wrong, Dr. Hine told Minho when he returned. But I think I can create a treatment using human hormones as a base. It will not be perfect, but it might stabilize her condition. What about the neural problems? Minho asked. That is harder. Viridian brains are different from human brains. I do not know how to fix the chemical imbalance. Minho sat down next to Yura's bed again. She was sleeping, but her face showed pain even in sleep. Her hands were shaking and her breathing was irregular. What helps humans when their brains are not working correctly? He asked Dr. Hine. Meditation, relaxation techniques, biofeedback therapy. But those are for psychological problems, not biological ones. An idea started forming in Minho's mind. During his training on Earth, he had learned stress management techniques for long space missions. The methods helped humans stay calm and focused when they were far from home. What if we try teaching her human mental exercises, he said. Maybe she can learn to control her brain chemistry through concentration. Dr. Hine looked doubtful. That seems very unlikely to work. Do we have any better ideas? Dr. Hine thought for a moment, then shook her head. No, we do not. When Yura woke up, Minho explained his plan. She was skeptical but willing to try anything. Human meditation? She asked. I do not understand how that could help. Humans have learned to control our bodies with our minds, Minho explained. We can slow our heart rate, lower our blood pressure, and reduce stress hormones just by thinking the right way. Viridians do not have such abilities. Maybe you do, but you have never tried. Our species are not so different. We both have brains, hormones, and nervous systems. For the next several hours, Minho taught Yura breathing exercises and mental focusing techniques. It was difficult because her condition made it hard for her to concentrate. But slowly she began to understand the methods. Breathe in for 4 counts, Minho said. Hold for 4 counts. Breathe out for 6 counts. Focus only on the numbers and your breathing. Yura followed his instructions. After 20 minutes of practice, her heart rate became more regular. The shaking in her hands decreased slightly. It is working a little, Dr. Hine said, watching the medical monitors. Her vital signs are more stable. Meanwhile, Dr. Hine was working on the chemical treatment. She used the medical synthesizer to create a combination of human hormones, mineral supplements from the mining operation, and other chemicals. It was experimental and dangerous, but it was their only hope. This is the best I can do, Dr. Hine said, holding a small injection device. The hormone mixture should help balance her system, but I do not know what the side effects might be. Yura looked at the injection, then at Minho. You are risking so much to help me, she said. Why? Minho thought about his answer carefully. Because that is what friends do. Because intelligence and kindness should be protected, no matter what species they come from. Because humans believe that every life has value. Tears appeared in Yura's purple eyes. My people would not do this for a human, she said quietly. That does not matter, Minho replied. We are not doing this because we expect something in return. We are doing it because it is right. Dr. Hine gave Yura the injection. Then they waited to see if the human medicine would help save an alien life. The first injection helped, but Yura was still very sick. Her fever went down a little and the shaking stopped, but she was still weak and confused. Dr. Haynes said her condition was stable but not improving much. "We need to give her more time," Dr. Haynes told Minho. "The human medicines are working slowly, but she needs constant monitoring." Minho decided to stay with Yura as much as possible. He brought his work to the medical bay and set up a small desk next to her bed. When she was awake, he continued teaching her the breathing exercises and meditation techniques. "This is strange for me," Yura said during one of their practice sessions. "Viridians do not usually control our bodies with our minds like this. How do Viridians handle stress or fear?" Minho asked. "We rely on our community. When one of us has problems, the others help by sharing the emotional burden, but we do not have techniques for individual mental control." Minho found this interesting. Human and Viridian cultures were very different in some ways. "What is your community like?" he asked. Yura smiled for the first time since arriving at the station. Talking about home seemed to make her feel better. "I come from a city called Thara on the planet Viridian Prime. It has floating buildings connected by bridges of light. My family works in interstellar trade, like me. We live together in a large house with my parents, my siblings, and their children. Do you miss them?" "Every day. But I chose to be a courier because I wanted to see the galaxy. I wanted to meet other species and learn about different ways of life." "What did you think about humans before you met us?" Yura looked embarrassed. "We were told that humans are violent and selfish, that you only care about your own species, and will fight anyone who gets in your way." "Some humans are like that," Minho admitted, "but not all of us. I learned that during my first delivery to your station. You were curious about me but not afraid. You treated me like a person. You are a person. Viridians do not think of other species as people. We respect intelligence, but we believe that only Viridians can truly understand emotions and relationships." Minho felt sad to hear this. It explained why Yura had been so surprised by their willingness to help her. "Do you still believe that?" he asked. Yura was quiet for a long time. She stared at the ceiling of the medical bay. "No," she finally said. "You have shown me something I did not know was possible. Humans care about others even when it costs you something, even when it puts you in danger." Over the next few days, they talked about many things. Yura told him about her travels to different planets. She had seen worlds made of crystal, gas giant moons with floating cities and space stations bigger than most planets. She had met dozens of alien species, but humans were the first to treat her as a friend. Minho told her about Earth, about human history and culture. He explained how humans had fought many wars, but also how they had learned to work together. He talked about human art, music, and the dream of exploring the stars. "Humans are very young compared to most species," Minho said. "We have only been traveling in space for a few hundred years. Most aliens think we are primitive." "You are not primitive," Yura said. "You are different. You have something that older species have lost." "What is that?" "Hope, and the willingness to take risks for others." Dr. Hine was working hard to improve the treatment. She gave Yura new injections every day, adjusting the chemical mixture based on how her body responded. Slowly, Yura was getting stronger. But on the 6th night, something went wrong. Minho was sleeping in a chair next to Yura's bed when the medical alarm started ringing. He woke up immediately and saw that Yura was shaking violently. Her skin was burning hot again and she was making strange sounds. "Dr. Hine," Minho shouted into his communicator. "Emergency in the medical bay." Dr. Hine arrived within minutes. She checked all the medical equipment and looked very worried. "Her brain chemistry is becoming unstable again," Dr. Hine said. "The treatment was working, but now something has changed." Yura's eyes were open, but she did not seem to see anything. She was muttering words in the Viridian language that Minho could not understand. "What is happening to her?" Minho asked. "I think her body is fighting the human medicines. This might be a critical point. She could get better, or she could get much worse. What can we do?" "Keep her calm and cool. Try to help her mind stay focused. This is going to be a long night." For the next 8 hours, Minho stayed by Yura's side. He used cold cloths to keep her temperature down. He talked to her constantly, even when she could not respond. He guided her through breathing exercises and tried to help her mind fight against the confusion. "Remember the first time you came to our station?" he said. "You were nervous about meeting humans, but we shared tea and talked about the stars. Sometimes Yura seemed to hear him. She would stop shaking for a few minutes and her breathing would become more regular. But then the fever would spike again and she would become lost in her own mind. "Stay with me, Yura," Minho said.
Do not give up.
"Remember what you told me about your home? About the floating bridges and your family?" Around 3 in the morning, Yura's fever reached dangerous levels. Dr. Hein prepared stronger medicines, but she warned Minho that they might not work. "This is as much as I can do with our equipment," Dr. Hein said. "The rest is up to her body and her will to live." Minho held Yura's hand and continued talking to her. He told her about his own family on Earth, about his dreams of exploring the galaxy, about the friendship they had built over 8 months. "You changed how I think about aliens," he said. "Before I met you, I thought other species would always be strangers to us. But you showed me that intelligence and kindness are the same everywhere." Just before dawn, Yura's fever finally broke. Her skin became cooler and her breathing slowed down. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Minho. "You stayed with me all night," she whispered. "Of course I did. In Viridian culture, only family members or potential mates would do such a thing." Minho felt his face get red. I just wanted to help." "I know. That is what makes humans so remarkable." Yura was still weak, but the crisis had passed. Dr. Hein said the worst danger was over. The human medicines were finally working properly, but something had changed between Minho and Yura during that long night. They had shared something deeper than friendship. She had trusted him with her life, and he had proven that human compassion had no limits. "Thank you," Yura said as the morning shift workers began their day. "Thank you for trusting us," Minho replied. Outside the medical bay window, the stars continued their ancient dance, but inside the small human station, 2 very different species had discovered that understanding and care could bridge any gap. After 10 days in the medical bay, Yura was finally healthy again. The combination of Dr. Hein's medicines and Minho's mental exercises had saved her life. Her fever was gone, her thinking was clear, and her strength was returning. "The Estrus cycle is complete," Dr. Hein announced. "All her biological functions are normal now." Everyone on the station felt relieved. For 10 days they had worried about their alien guest. Some crew members had been afraid at first, but now they all cared about Yura. She had become part of their small family. Yura could walk around the station now, though she still tired easily. Minho gave her tours of different areas, showing her how the mining operation worked and how humans lived in space. "Your technology is different from ours," Yura observed as they watched the mining ships through a large window, less advanced in some ways but more creative. "What do you mean?" Minho asked. "Viridian equipment is built to be perfect and never break down. But when something goes wrong, we cannot fix it easily. Human equipment breaks more often, but you can always find a way to repair it." This was true. The mining station was full of equipment that had been fixed and modified many times. Humans were good at making old things work in new ways. "Dr. Hein saved your life with medicines that were never designed for Viridians," Minho pointed out. "That is human creativity." "Yes, and you taught me to control my biology with my mind. No Viridian doctor would have thought of such a thing." While Yura was recovering, Jinwoo had been working on her ship. The Blue Wind had serious engine damage that would normally require expensive Viridian parts. But Jinwoo was determined to find a solution. "I cannot get the engines to work exactly like before," Jinwoo told Yura, "but I can make them work well enough to get you home safely." "How?" Yura asked. "Human engineering," Jinwoo said with a smile. "I am using some of our mining equipment parts and changing the power distribution system." Yura was amazed when she saw her repaired ship. Jinwoo had installed human technology that made the engines actually more efficient than before. "This should not work," she said, studying the modifications. "Human and Viridian technology are completely different." "That is what makes it interesting," Jinwoo replied. "Sometimes different approaches can solve old problems." But Yura was not ready to leave yet. She had something important to discuss with the station crew. On her last evening at the station, Yura asked everyone to gather in the main meeting room. She stood in front of the group looking nervous but determined. "I want to thank all of you for saving my life," she began. "But more than that, you have taught me something about humans that my people need to know." She paused and looked at each person in the room. "For the past 10 days, you have risked your safety, your resources, and your time to help someone from another species. You did this even though I could not pay you back. You did it simply because you thought it was right. Salmon shifted uncomfortably in her chair. She had not wanted to help at first, but even she had worked hard to care for Yura once the decision was made. In Viridian society, we help our own families and close communities, but we do not understand why anyone would help strangers, especially alien strangers. Minho felt proud of his species. Humans had many flaws, but they also had something special. I am going to make a formal request to the Viridian Trade Consortium, Yura continued. I want to establish a cultural exchange program between your station and my trade route. Everyone looked surprised. Cultural exchange programs were rare and usually only happened between major civilizations. What would that involve? Soman asked. I would spend more time here learning about human society and science, and maybe some of you could visit Viridian stations and planets. We could share knowledge and ideas. Would your people approve of this? Dr. Hine asked. I do not know, but I am going to tell them what happened here. I am going to explain how humans think and how you solve problems. Some Viridians will be skeptical, but others will be curious. Yura turned to look directly at Minho. I am also going to recommend that humans be invited to join the Galactic Science Consortium. Your problem-solving abilities and creativity would be valuable to the whole galaxy. Minho felt his heart skip a beat. The Galactic Science Consortium was one of the most important organizations in known space. Only 12 species were members. If humans were invited to join, it would change everything. Do you really think that could happen? He asked. Yes. What you did here proves that humans are ready to work with other species. You showed compassion, intelligence, and innovation. Those are the qualities the consortium looks for. The next morning, Yura prepared to leave. Her ship was fully repaired and loaded with supplies for the journey home. The whole station crew came to the docking bay to say goodbye. Will we see you again? Donghyun asked. If the cultural exchange program is approved, I will be back in 3 months, Yura said. And next time, I will bring Viridian medical equipment so your doctor can learn about our biology. Dr. Hine smiled at this idea. She loved learning new things, and alien medicine would be fascinating to study. I have something for you, Minho said. He handed Yura a small device. It is a human music player. I put some of my favorite songs on it. Yura accepted the gift with wonder. Music was important to Viridians, but they had never heard human music before. Thank you. I will treasure this. And I have something for you, she said to Minho. She gave him a small blue crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. This is from my homeworld. It will remind you that friendship can exist between any two intelligent beings. Minho held the crystal carefully. It was warm to the touch and beautiful. Thank you, Yura, for everything. As the blue wind disconnected from the station and flew into space, Minho watched from the observation window. This time, the ship flew perfectly straight. Yura was healthy and confident again, but more than that, she was carrying a message about humanity to the rest of the galaxy. 3 weeks later, Minho received a communication from the Viridian Trade Consortium. Yura had told them about her experience at the human mining station. The consortium was interested in learning more about human capabilities. 6 months later, the first official Viridian delegation visited Earth. They were impressed by human technology, art, and especially by human willingness to help others. 1 year later, humanity received an invitation to join the Galactic Science Consortium. But for Minho, the most important result was much simpler. Yura returned to Station K4042 as promised, not just as a courier but as an ambassador. Their friendship had grown into something that would help both species understand each other better. On quiet evenings, when the mining work was done and the stars filled the sky, Minho and Yura would sit together and talk about the future. They imagined a galaxy where different species worked together, learned from each other, and cared for one another. It had all started with one simple decision: to help a friend in need. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could change the entire universe. The blue crystal from Yura's homeworld sat on Minho's desk, glowing softly in the starlight. It reminded him every day that intelligence and compassion could bridge any gap between different worlds, different species, and different ways of life. In the vast darkness of space, friendship was the brightest light of all.